Greetings and salutations. Today we're going to go through the Psychic Disciplines part of the Grey Knight Codex. So stick around. Okay, so I'm not going to go through the Brotherhood Psychic stuff because I went through that when I went through the Brotherhood stuff earlier. So if you want to check out the Brotherhood Psychic powers, go and check out the Brotherhood video. Today we're going to go through the Dominus Discipline and the Sanctic Discipline and explain the differences between the two. So Dominus Discipline can be taken by your characters only. The first one is Gate of Infinity. That used to be a Sanctic one, it's no longer. It has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select one friendly Grey Knight Psyker unit within 18 inches of this Psyker. Remove that unit from the battlefield and then set it back up on the battlefield anywhere that is more than 9 inches away from enemy models. Now, if you want to capitalize on the chapter approved special rules, which give you the secondary objective of killing stuff after you teleport, things like that, you can do that after the gate. So if you really do want to capitalize on that, you definitely want to take Gate of Infinity. Being an army that's not very fast on their feet normally, you can take Gate of Infinity and they suddenly start playing like a very mobile force. It's pretty cool. Empiric Amplification, Malediction. This has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 12 inches and visible to this Psyker. Until the start of your next Psychic phase, each time an attack made with a Nemesis or Psi weapon is allocated to a model in that unit, add 1 to the damage characteristic of that attack. There's a lot of stuff out there now that has lots of neg1 damage, etc, etc. With a lot of our Nemesis weapons now, they've got a fixed damage characteristic. Putting this onto something means that your halberds and swords will be doing damage 3, your Psi cannons will be damage 3, your falchions will actually become damage 2, so they can actually tear apart Space Marines quite easily. It's a very good power. I would recommend not taking it. Sanctuary. Blessing. Sanctuary has warp charge value 6. If manifested, select one friendly Grey Knight unit within 18 inches of the Psyker. Till starting next Psyker phase, model that unit have a 4+ invulnerable save. In older versions of the Grey Knights, that psychic power was absolutely a must to keep your Dread Knights alive. Dread Knights now have a built-in 4+, so you can take Sanctuary and you can put it elsewhere. If you were to run a Preservers army, throw it on your Paladins. Why not? Give them a 4+ and then give them a 5. Oh, well, I don't know if that works with them. Put on Terminators or something. Put onto Strike Marines, whatever you want. Sanctuary is now open to use on other things other than Dread Knights, which I think is cool. Sometimes you're going to be throwing your Strike Marines, Interceptors, things like that into units which are very punchy, very good AP, and having a 4+ invulnerable save is going to keep them alive a lot longer. Vortex of Doom. Witchfire. Vortex of Doom has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select the closest enemy unit within 12 inches of and visible to this Psyker. Each other enemy unit within 3 inches of the selected unit suffers 1 mortal wound, and then the selected unit suffers 2d3 mortal wounds. If the model manifesting this psychic power has the Psychic Epitome Waller trait, only the unit you selected suffers the additional mortal wound from that trait, not those other enemy units within 3 inches of it. Warp Shaping has a warp charge value of 4. It's pretty easy to cast. If manifested, select one Tide of the Warp, page 81, that has not been dominant for your army during this battle. Your army's current dominant Tide of the Warp has changed to the selected Tide of the Warp. So the only way to change the tides is through this psychic power, and you can only change them once per game. So once you've been in this tide, let's say Tide of Clarity, you can't go back to it again. You're locked out of it. Ghostly Bonds. Ghostly Bonds has a warp charge value of 5. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of and visible to the Psyker. Until the start of your next Psychic phase, halve that unit's move characteristic. This is quite useful. Anything that can really mess with your opponent's plans is good. Sometimes it's good to cast something like this onto something that's going to try to get away from you. It shortens the distance, then you can close with them and kill them. Other times it can be played defensively, so if there's something that wants to come at you, let's say you've got a squad of guys that move 6 inches normally, you throw that on them, they can only move 3, so they're going to be out of charge range. It's pretty strategic the way you got to play it though, so it's good, but tricky. Sanctic Discipline. So Psychic Confluence. This is a special thing that Grey Knights get now. Each time a Grey Knight Psyker is selected to manifest psychic powers, it can attempt to manifest any of the psychic powers that it knows from the Sanctic Discipline, even if that power has already been attempted to be manifested by another unit that phase. Each time such a unit attempts to manifest such a psychic power, and until the end of the phase, add 1 to that power's warp charge value for each other attempt that has been made to manifest it by a unit from your army that phase, whether the attempt was successful or not. So, Sanctic powers have now got the, what's it called, Smite thing. So if I was to go, let's say Astral Aim, I cast Astral Aim, I wanted to do it for another unit. It's a warp charge of 6, so first time it's 6, second time it's 7, third time I cast it, it's 8. So you can continuously cast a psychic power more than once, it just gets more difficult each time. So speaking of Astral Aim, it's number 1, let's talk about Astral Aim. Blessing. Astral Aim has a warp charge value of 6 if manifested until the start of your next psychic phase. Each time this psychic unit is selected to shoot, it can reroll 1 hit roll when resolving that unit's attacks. Each time a model in this psychic unit makes a ranged attack, that target does not receive the benefit of cover against that attack. That is on Purgation Squads, which is it's cool. Ignores cover is not too bad, and rerolling a hit roll is pretty good. If you stick them in Prescient Brotherhood, you've got your reroll 1s straight away, and you reroll 1s to wound as well. You've rolled away, bang, you've hit with all of them, you roll 3 1s, reroll them, and there's a 2, you get to pick up that 2, reroll that, done. Or if you're within range of a Grandmaster, get to reroll 1 that's not a 1. Purge Soul. Witchfire. Purge Soul has a warp charge value of 6 if manifested. Select 1 enemy unit within 12 inches and visible to the Psyker that has not already been selected for this power this phase. Then roll 1d6 and add this Psyker's leadership characteristic to the result. Your opponent then rolls 1d6 and adds that unit's leadership characteristic to the result. If your total is higher than your opponent's, this selected unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. If your total is equal to your opponent's, the selected unit suffers 1 mortal wound. If your total is less than your opponent's, nothing happens. This is different to what it used to be. It used to be you'd roll off your leaderships, and then if you're under, nothing happened. Same or under, nothing happened. But if you're over, for each point over, they'd cop a mortal wound. It's been capped down at D3. It's been nerfed slightly, but before if you equaled them, you would do nothing. Now if you equal them, you get 1. So that, in that respect, has been buffed. The thing is though, it doesn't come on any squads standard. So the only way to get this is to either have a squad of Paladins or a Librarian. Hammerhand. Blessing. Hammerhand has a warp charge value of 5 if manifested until the start of your next psychic phase. Each time a model in this psychic unit makes a melee attack, you can re-roll the wound roll. Pretty good. One of those aggressive, punchy bastards that you have in your army. Purifying Flame. It's a Witchfire. Has a warp charge value of 5 if manifested. The closest enemy unit within 9 inches and visible of the Psyker suffer 3 mortal wounds. If the result of the psychic test was 11 plus, that unit suffers D3 plus 3 mortal wounds instead. So this is on your Purifiers. You can also take it on a Librarian, and Crow comes with it standard as well. Armored Resilience. Has a warp charge value of 6 and it's a blessing. Until the start of your next psychic phase, add 1 to the armor save throws for models in this Psyker's unit. This comes on your Dreadnoughts. Ethereal Castigation. Has a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, the Psyker's unit can shoot as if it were your shooting phase, and then it can make a normal move as if it were your movement phase. After making this move and or resolving these shooting attacks until the end of the turn, the Psyker's unit cannot make a normal move, shoot, charge, advance, charge, or shoot. So this comes on your Interceptors. It makes them a bit of the ability so they can move their 12 inches, they can shoot, and they can either move and hide behind somewhere, or they can shoot move in the psychic, shoot in the psychic phase and then kill something, move on to the objective that they were previously not on, or the unit was on, or you could just be really aggressive with them and just get them positioned right up in their opponent's grill, blocking movement, things like that. It makes interceptors really feel like a movement-based unit, which they should absolutely be, being in the fast attack slot of the army. So yeah, that's it for the psychic powers.